I've now finished my ground stitch in the centre here, and this time I did it in cross stitch and twist, and both pairs pin up and close with a cross stitch and twist. So you can now see instantly the difference, because the half stitch allows your pair threads to travel, so the colours will move, whereas the cross stitch and twist will leave them in the place where they are. So I've got a nice little yellow line travelling down there and a blue and purple in the middle. Now I've opened up this pin here because I'm going to show you what is probably my favourite stitch to do in a fan, which sounds a bit crazy because it's a fan. Do you really have favourite fans? But anyway, I'm going to now do a decorative edge to my fan, and in order to do that, I've opened up my pin and I'm going to put a twist on my passive here, this pink one, and I'm going to close with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. So every time I work this pink, it's going to be, now in this particular fan, it's going to be a cross stitch and twist, and it's going to look different to this one here. Now whenever you put a twist on threads in lace, what it does is it pushes the threads apart, so it creates a hole. And what I'm going to end up with is a really decorative straight thread around the edge and a gap between that thread and the rest of my passives, because I've put that twist in. So I'm now going to do my fan as I did before, bringing my pairs in. So I'm going to cross stitch through my green pair, and it's only my green pair coming in at the moment, so I'm going to twist twice and then pin up. And I'm just going to lengthen my worker pair for a minute. I'm hoping you can see the bottom of them. So I'm going to close back through my green pair with a cross stitch. Now I've reached my very last pair that I need to work, which is going to be my decorative edge. And as I said before, you need to have a twist on your pairs to push your threads apart. But whenever you work a cross stitch, just a cross stitch, your pairs aren't twisted. So this worker here, this one here, has just gone through my passive in cross stitch, and it now needs to work a cross stitch and twist with this pair here. In order to get my decorative edge, I need to put a twist on this pair because it has no twist. So if I just went straight into that pair would sit alongside my green thread, and I don't want that. I want it to be pushed apart. So I have to put a twist on this pair because it's come out of cross stitch. So every time I head towards this pair coming from that direction, I need to put a twist on it because it doesn't have one. So I'm now going to cross stitch and twist through both pairs, and I've already put one twist on this pair, so I'm going to put a second twist on, and then I'm going to pin up. So this worker pair now has a total of 2 twists, and this passive has 1. And I will be a bit firmer with my tensioning because we've got a lot of twists involved in the thread now. Now I'm going to close the pin with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. Now because I've done a cross stitch and twist, this worker pair has the twist on from the stitch. Because it wasn't a cross stitch, it was a cross stitch and twist, you automatically put the twist on with the stitch, so you don't need to worry about another twist. If you wanted to add more twists, then you can, but generally one twist is enough to push the threads apart. So I'm going to cross stitch back through my green, bring in my yellow, cross stitch that, twist my worker twice because I'm at the end of a row, pin up in if I can find the hole, and then I'm going to cross stitch back through my 2 pairs of passives. So I've now reached the point where I only have my edge pair to work. This is the point where I need to put a twist on because there's no twist on my worker pair because it's just done cross stitch. So 1 twist, cross stitch, twist both pairs, extra twist on the worker because you want a total of 2 around the pin, and pin up. Give everything a little bit of, especially this pink pair, give it a little tug just to get rid of any stray loops. So now we're going to close the pin with a cloth stitch and twist both pairs. There's our twist, which we need to push our threads apart, and you can already start to see what this twist does in this fan and the difference this pink thread looks compared to this one. So I'm going to cross stitch back through my two pairs that are already in my fan. Then I'm going to bring in my last pair, because this pin is my widest point. There's my widest point. So I'm going to cross stitch through that pair, 2 twists on my worker, pin up, cross stitch back through my 3 passives. That's it. And I've now reached just the last pair to do, so I'm going to put my twist on because there's no twist, and then I'm going to cross stitch and twist through both pairs, extra twist on the edge pair, the worker pair, and pin up. So then I'm going to cross stitch and twist. I'm just going to use a bit more thread because I'm in the cross stitch and twist, so it tends to use up a little bit more thread. Cross stitch through my passives. Now this is the pair that gets left out because I've come to my widest point, so I've added all my pairs. I'm now leaving them out, so this pair stays out first. 2 twists, pin up, cross stitch back through my 2, twist my worker because I need my cross stitch and twist edge, cross stitch and twist, extra twist on the worker pair, pin up, close with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. Now my yellow is staying out this time, so I just go through my green, 2 twists, pin up, and then we're back to our very final pin. Let's show you there. There's the last of our pins. So I'm going to cross stitch through my green, twist my worker, and cross stitch and twist through my pink, extra twist on my worker, pin up, and close the pin with a cross stitch and twist both pairs. So there you can see, just lengthen those. So these passives look the same, but because they got the twist, this one here isn't quite as rounded as this one because those twists have pushed those threads, the pink and the green, apart. And we have this nice decorative straight line here and this gap, which is, I think is really pretty, and it just makes the lace a little bit daintier. Unfortunately, I tend to use it all the time, and I couldn't find a normal fan which didn't have it on there in all my samples, so I couldn't really show you an ordinary fan. So now that's done, so I can move those across. Now as I'm going to be moving these across, I'm going to twist them, and I'm ready to start the next fan. So we're going to, first thing we're going to do is, right, I've put my cross stitch on, so the first thing I need to do is to put a twist on both of them. It doesn't matter because on the other one I popped a twist on here, so if you wanted to do that, it won't show because it is in the middle of the stitch, but you definitely want it afterwards. So I'm just going to close that with a cross stitch and twist, and I've got a misbehaving thread here. Now one of the problems with this thick thread is the threads can get caught down in between the other threads. So what I tend to do, can you see I've got a loop here, I've got some loops, so if I can maneuver those loops to the end and hook them off. Let me see if I can get that one there. I've hooked that first one off, then I hook off another one and another one and another one, and then at some point, if you keep going, unraveling, it loosens the knot. There's the knot there, and I can pull that off, and if you're careful, the thread will unravel completely and you won't get a knot in it. Now what I would suggest is never use a pin trying to do that. Use something which has got a blunt point, because if you use a pin you might shred the thread, which is a bit of a mouthful, and then the thread is likely to break. So I would always use a blunt point. So you could use the Lazy Susan or the other end of a needle, so that it's the end that has the hole in it, the eye in it. But never use your actual pins on your threads, because if you shred it and then it will break, and then you have a little cry. I know that from experience. Okay, so we're on the other side. So we've cross stitch and twist our green, so we're ready to take in all our next 3 pairs. So I'm going to so make sure that it's got twist on it, cross stitch through, 2 twists on my work of thread, pin up, cross stitch back, and we're at our last pair again. So again we want to put a twist on this pair. So we'll put a twist on and then we'll cross stitch and twist. Twist your worker one more time to make a total of 2, pin up, and then you can close the pin with a cross stitch and twist, cross stitch through your pink, bring in your next pair, 2 twists and pin up. And you can now start to see your gap starting to appear. So we're going to do the next row, cross stitch through your 2 that are already in, twist your worker because you just cross stitched, cross stitch and twist both pairs, extra twist on your worker, pin up. And you're going to find you'll be saying this in your sleep. So now we're closing it with your cross stitch and twist, cross stitch through 2, bring in our last pair, which happens to be our widest point, twist your worker pair twice and pin up. And I'm just going to, my threads are just not behaving. This is one of the downsides with the thicker thread, but when you're learning it's so much easier to be able to give them a good tug and know that they're not going to break. So I'm going to cross stitch back through my 3, twist my worker, cross stitch and twist, extra twist on your worker pair and pin up. So I'm just going to give the green a little bit of a pull because it wasn't going straight. Okay, cross stitch and twist, cross stitch through that one, cross stitch through the purple. Now this is our widest point, so this pair's staying out. So I'm going to twist twice and pin up. Cross stitch back through 2. We're now at our edge pair, twist the worker once, cross stitch and twist, extra twist on the worker and pin up. Now if you put more twists on, the gap is going to be wider because you're pushing the threads further and further apart. So just bear that in mind. What you can do if you've got a particularly large fan is start with 1 twist, then build up to 2, build up to 3, then go back to 2, then back to 1, and that's really pretty because you get a varying size hole gap. Okay, so cross stitch and twist. Now we're leaving our purple out, and I'm going to just cross stitch through my pink, 2 twists, pin up, twist our worker after going through the cross stitch and twist through our last pair, extra twist on the worker and pin up and close with a cross stitch and twist. So that's are two fans, and you can see how different they are in appearance from this one. So this one you get 3 threads side by side, and this one you get 2 threads side by side, then you get a gap, and then you get the lovely single thread on the edge. So I'm just going to go away and do my ground stitches again, and then I'm going to come back and show you a different way of doing your fans. So what you will notice is I'm using exactly the same pricking, but I've now got 2 completely different looks on my fans. So whenever you encounter fans in a pattern, just because the picture shows, if you're lucky enough to get a picture, if it shows one type of fan, don't be afraid to change it and use a different one. So I'm just going to go away, do the ground stitch, and show you a third way of doing your fans. I've now completed my second part of the ground stitch in cross stitch and twist, and I would just mention that if you want to control your colours, can you see here on this right hand side where the yellow runs down the edge? And if you trace it back to the starting pin, that pin there is where I started that yellow. This yellow here on the other side is on a different pin. So if I wanted to control the colours, I would need to have put the yellow on the next pin down to match that side. And then I would get a nice even design in the middle. So it's worth playing around with your cross stitch and half stitch and seeing about where your colours go, because even the most simplest of lace patterns can be made really intricate just by where you place your colours and how you use the stitches. So now I'm ready to do my third fan on my left, and now this time I'm going to do all of the pairs as cross stitch and twist. So on this first one we did cross stitch. This second one we did cross stitch with a cross stitch and twist edge. This one we're going to do everything as cross stitch and twist. So I've done this first pair already, so I'm now ready to bring in my next pair. So I'm just going to work cross stitch, twist both pairs, and put an extra twist on my worker because I want to put the pin in and then tension up. Now this particular stitch is going to get a lot tighter a lot quicker because you've got extra twists in it, so you will need to tension it more regularly than you have been doing. So I'm going to close that with a cross stitch and twist. Now because we're doing cross stitch and twist, and before we were having to add the twist before working this last pair, but this twist is already here from the cross stitch and twist, so I just don't need to worry about it. I can just go straight into the last pair, cross stitch and twist, extra twist on the worker, and pin up. So, and you can see it's definitely a lot harder to tension with the cross stitch and twist because you have those extra twists. So now I'm going to cross stitch and twist back through the pairs. So there's my pairs that are already in my fan. My yellow's coming in, it's already got a twist on it, so I'm going to cross stitch and twist, extra twist on the worker, pin up, and I will just pull all my pairs down because of that extra twisting. Cross stitch and twist back to the other side, and I think you should now start to see exactly what is happening, and you'll see that I now have the start of 2 straight lines and the start of a third one from my yellow. So now I'm going to cross stitch and twist back through all my pairs. Now this will use more thread because you've got the extra twists in your pairs, and even though you don't think it's going to use as much, just bear in mind that these threads are actually round. They're not flat because of the way they've been spun. They're circular threads, so they're going to take up a lot more space than a flat thread. So you do need to take this into consideration when just winding your bobbins as to what stitch you're going to do. So you just need to do a little bit of preparing. So at my widest point here, so cross stitch, twist both pairs, extra twist on the worker, and pin up. So you can see where the extra thread and twists pull the threads up, so you get bigger loops. So now I'm going to cross stitch and twist back to the other side. And extra twist on the worker, pin up. Oops. So you do need to do just a little bit more work with the cross stitch and twist. So now I'm going to go back to the other side. Now this blue one has been in and now needs to be left out, so I'm just going to ignore that one. So extra twist and pin up. So now I'm going to go back to the other side, cross stitch and twist in. Back through to just my green, because I'm leaving my yellow out on the next pin. So extra twist, pin up, and then back through my green, and then cross stitch and twist, extra twist on the edge and pin up. So that is now, I'm going to close that with a cross stitch. You can see the difference. So you get 3 single lines, just barely that of a fourth, compared to the difference between this one and this one. So already within 3 fans, you now know how to change any fan into a different appearance just by doing different stitches. So then I'm just going to start you off on the other side. Now also the other thing, the great thing about the cross stitches and twist is that when you leave the pair off, it will have the twist automatically from the cross stitch and twist. So you don't have to worry about that unless it jumps off as you're moving your pairs around. So I'm just going to go and start you off on this side, and then I'm going to fill in the rest of my pins, and then I'm going to come back and show you a 4th fan. But I've left this one to last and you'll see why. So I've got my cross stitch and twist already. So I'm going to cross stitch and twist through the first pair I'm bringing in, extra twist, pin up, cross stitch and twist back through to the other side, extra twist on your worker, pin up, and then you're away doing cross stitch and twist on this side. So I'm going to go away and do that, do my ground stitches, and then I'll come back and show you the last fan that I'm going to show you in this series of lace